And joining me now to discuss, columnist from the Saturday Herald Sun, Steve Price. Steve, we've got to move on to a lot of other news of the day, but just very quickly, what was your takeout from that extraordinary spray by Keating today?
Well, I think, Sharri, good afternoon to you. You've summed it up really well. I mean, it was compelling television. You couldn't take your eyes off it, I'll say that first up. But I came away thinking it was all a bit sad, really. I mean, it was almost like wheeling out the mad uncle who, in an armchair and handling a range of notes for him to shuffle through. I was surprised he didn't give the speech himself. He wrote it, gave it out to everyone, and then sat there and took questions from Laura Tingle. But I'd just say one other thing about it. It's always about self-interest with Paul Keating, and you'll note in there that he kept talking about Collins-class submarines, Kim Beazley and me. Well, what that means is he wants credit for getting the Collins submarines, which have been a nightmare for the Defence Forces to deal with, into the water, and he now just wants Collins-class submarines because he was the bloke who came up with them in the first place. That's really what it's about. Yeah. On the AUKUS deal, Steve, today Foreign Minister Penny Wong hit back at China over its claims that this pact will fuel an arms race. Look, Penny Wong has come out strongly. She said China's criticisms are not grounded in fact. Do you think Australia has been strong enough here in rejecting these overnight comments from China? Well, how can you interpret it any way other than it is a defensive arms race? I mean, you don't spend $386 billion, that's at the upper level of this deal, if you're not buying defence equipment that can be considered by your enemy as an arms race. I mean, I don't find that comment all that surprising. Australia has decided to up its defence industries by that amount of money, turn it into a manufacturing business, and I think an arms race is probably a reasonable way to look at it. I mean, if one of our neighbours suddenly spent $386 billion on a defence upgrade, would we not say the same thing?
Yeah, well, I suppose that's true. What about this news today that's going to hurt a lot of families, that power price rises are going to increase by up to 31%, on average 20% from July? This after Australia's energy regulator flagged higher benchmark prices for retailers. Look, is there anything the government can actually do here?
I don't think so. There's been an argument prosecuted today that if they hadn't intervened in the gas market, it would have been worse. But when you're walking around, as I was this morning, listening to Talkback Radio, hearing businesses call in and say, this is going to cause me to have to sack workers, I can't afford to pay more. You know, laundry businesses where the gas bill and electricity bills more than doubled this year. Average electricity users, $481 from July 1 is what the average increase will be. That means it'll be a lot more for more heavy users, people that have got large families and houses that are just based on electricity. And that all comes at the time when, of course, fixed rate interest rates are going to come off a lot of people's mortgages. I'm just getting sick and tired, Sharri, of Chris Bowen wandering around, going on about green energy as if it's the solution to all our problems, and just turning his head and ignoring the fact that people are going to get sacked because of these power increases. It's just unsustainable for people.
Yeah, well, he was actually blaming the coalition today. Have a listen to this.
Well, I invite the coalition to have a look in the mirror. I mean, here you had the independent energy regulator this morning pointing out that without the intervention, the increases would have been closer to 50%. An intervention that Mr Dutton opposed, like he opposes absolutely everything. I mean, you can't complain about high energy prices and then vote for higher energy prices.
The thing is, what Bowen forgets is that they promised energy prices would be lower, and I suppose now they're arguing that, you know, these price rises aren't as great as they would have been.
It's one of the great broken political promises in history. I mean, Chris Bowen is clearly the worst performing minister in the Albanese government, and the people around Australia tonight who watch Sky News and hear that their power bills are going to go up by that much are going to go, well, how come I voted for this crowd when they told me power bills would be cheaper? The impact of it, though, and I saw the Business Council of New South Wales on with Ross Greenwood before, he believes that this is seriously going to impact on the jobs of people, and you're going to not only have to pay more for your energy, your electricity and your gas, but you might have to do it without a job where people start getting sacked.
Yeah, very hard for businesses to put up with such high electricity price rises. Now, in WA, Premier Mark McGowan has apologised after he was caught swearing on a live microphone in Parliament. He was describing issues to do with the Perth Mint and the gold. Have a listen to this.
I was not informed of the matters.
Madam Speaker.
The member for Darling Range.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Premier. I refer to the McGowan Labor government's ongoing campaign.
A bit embarrassing for the Premier, Steve?
You and I have been around a long time. We've done a lot of television and radio. I'll give you a golden rule, which I hope, Sharri, that you will stick by for the rest of your glittering television career here on Sky. Don't ever say anything around a microphone unless you want the world to hear it, okay?
Good bit of advice, and Mark McGowan should have listened to you before he said that today. Now, the Captain Cook Hotel in Sydney's East has reversed its woke name change as new owners take over. The historic pub was renamed The Captain by its previous owners after backlash in 2020. Is this a win for common sense? Are we going the other direction now, away from the woke name changes?
Sanity prevails, and the next time I'm in Sydney, the first pub I'll be going to is the Captain Cook Hotel.